Am I the jerk for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after finding out only our side of the family were having to pay to attend? Posted by u/1change4503. Obligatory, this is a throwaway account clarification. I'm very active in a D&D sub that I don't particularly want it to tie to this situation. So my younger sister, Katie 28F, and her partner, Chris 29M, are getting married in April in Dubai. She has always wanted an extravagant wedding and is going all out on this. So the wedding is happening over 4 days. There's 70 guests, but they want us, me, my husband, and parents, to stay in the same hotel with them along with her bridesmaids, which I am MOH, and groomsmen. The hotel is pretty luxe, so with flights is costing us just over £2,900 each. Chris's family are also staying in the hotel, which includes his parents, 2 brothers, and his nephew. They are well off. I don't know exactly how much they earn combined, but I know Katie is on $88,000 and she is the lower earner. But about 6 months ago, Chris and Katie came to us and asked to borrow $17,000 more. They stressed it would be a loan paid over time and said the venue had increased the price, Dubai law was different, blah blah blah. They paid this money or they lost the lot. We believed them, and I offered to loan $7,000 and my parents the other $10,000. So long story short, I have since found out through someone else that the $17,000 wasn't for the venue. It was for Chris's family to fly over there. They saw how much it was going to be, didn't want to pay, and refused to go. I asked Katie and she confirmed, so my first question was, if they were paying for his parents, why not pay for ours? I would never expect them to pay for me. Even if we couldn't afford it, I'd have wished them well and stayed at home. And her answer was, because they can afford it. She got very defensive and said this was the fairest way she could think of doing it. It's hard enough planning a wedding, etc. But when I asked, if you genuinely thought this was the fairest way to do it, why did you lie about what the $17,000 was for and say it was a venue issue? She couldn't answer. My parents are aware and are very disappointed they lied, but have said they're still attending, but I have backed out. To me, it feels like my parents are being taken advantage. And if they couldn't afford to pay for both our and Chris's parents and his brothers and nephew, then they shouldn't have just paid for the 4 parents, or no one at all. And they especially shouldn't have lied about it. Katie and Chris keep calling and asking me to attend, saying I'm making them feel bad and ruining their day. But the whole thing just feels icky to me. I'm genuinely an open book, so be brutal. Am I being an AH here? Should I just suck it up and go? Edit. Crumbs, that's a lot of comments, haha. Thanks so much, everyone. Just wanted to answer a couple of comments that have come up a lot. The repayment. My husband's brother is a solicitor, and he kindly drew up a contract and repayment plan for both myself and my parents, so the money will be paid off within 12 months of the wedding. If they don't stick to this, I have access to a free solicitor. Haha. I hope it wouldn't come to that, but that's why I have the papers for worst case scenario. Asking for the $7,000 back, I might be a soft touch, but asking for this back feels like a step too far. Like I'm mad as hell, but not enough to actively try ruin their wedding a few weeks before, which it feels like, right now at least, is what that would be doing. But hey, give me a few more days to stew. Edit 2. Thanks again for all the feedback, everyone. Just another quick FYI. A few people have asked about Chris's family, or seem to have the impression they're well off. I'm obviously not privy to their financial situation, but what the limited amount I do know from what Katie has said, Chris and his family grew up very poor. Before all this, I'd always thought Chris was a lovely guy, but I had caught him in the odd but harmless white lie, things like where he went to school, the type of house he grew up in, etc. I get the impression he is embarrassed or resentful of his upbringing, given their lack of money, and this is how he now values his own self-worth, by how much money he has. My guess is when his family said they couldn't go, he panicked and worried people would ask why they weren't there, and he would either have to say they couldn't afford it, or he couldn't afford to pay for them. And look, his past trauma experience is not for me to judge. But if that were the case, it just makes me more mad that they both didn't plan ahead and talk to friends' family about what they could afford before booking Dubai. If it was such a deal breaker for his family to be there, they should have factored in the cost of paying for all parents to attend instead of thrusting a $3,000 per person bill at them and expecting them to rock up. Comment 1. Not the jerk. Yet one of the many reasons I dislike destination weddings. They're the penultimate egocentric events. OP's reply. Ha ha ha. I totally get this. We had a destination wedding in Italy as well, TBH. However, before we booked it, we did rough price checks in terms of how much it would cost everyone before we booked. It actually ended up being cheaper than a lot of places in the UK, but also made a list of what we could afford to pay for, and who our non-negotiable were, in terms of if there were certain people who couldn't make it, afford it, then we'd just book somewhere in the UK. It worked out. In the end, we had 15 people, and we paid for everyone's hotel room, and the flights were about £240 each, so we counted that as everyone's gift to us as we figured after travel, gifts, etc. It probably wasn't far off what people would pay to attend a local wedding. But I didn't expect Katie to do the same, as I knew she was having 70 people, and at the end of the day, it's her wedding. Update. I had a lot of messages at the time of posting, asking for an update on what I decided to do, so wanted to check in. So in short, I didn't end up going to the wedding. Katie and Chris basically harassed me constantly until few days before they were due to fly out. I received a belligerent voicemail from Katie saying if I didn't go, I wasn't her sister anymore. I was embarrassing myself and her and Chris. I was a horrible person. And most shockingly, if I didn't go, then her and Chris wouldn't be paying me or my parents back for the money we loaned. So trying to blackmail me. She would say it was a gift. I faked the contract and I would have to take her to court. She was clearly drunk at the time. The voicemail was left on the night she was having her at-home hen do, which I also obviously didn't attend. But it was so beyond anything I thought she was capable of. I ended up sharing it with my parents, and they also reluctantly pulled out of attending. I heard through friends and family in attendance at the wedding after her and Chris were telling everyone I had alienated her from her family and told lies to our parents, we gifted money and expected them to pay for us, etc., etc. And they made the decision to uninvite myself and my husband. Other, more insulting things were said that I don't particularly want to go into. Suffice to say, they were very hurtful. As I mentioned in my post, I had my brother-in-law, solicitor, draw up a contract for repayment for both myself and my parents. What was supposed to be the first repayment date passed without word from either of them, so BIL picked up from there. His attempts to reach them were ignored apart from one email from what I think was a fake law firm outlining the money was gifted. The contract was fraudulent, and to take them to court, basically. In response to that, BIL sent a copy of the voicemail Katie left, and a final demand outlining the payment plan was now null and void, and we wanted the money in full within 30 days, or we would indeed be going to court. Magically, the full amount appeared in our accounts 5 days later. Again, I've heard on the grapevine since the wedding, they have been telling anyone who would listen, we asked for our gift back out of the blue and disowned them, and how much of a difficult financial position they are in because of this. So that's that. I can't see myself having a relationship with her after this, which is devastating, but at the same time, I truly believe now, after everything, that isn't my fault. Thanks again to everyone who gave advice. I hope this update is enough for everyone who asked for one. Comment 1. I'm a petty person. I would upload her message to all social media sites and tag her in them so people can hear, in her own words, how she was going to lie about all of that. You were not the jerk then, and you are still not the jerk. OP's reply. Everyone who has let me know what they've said has had my back and called her out on her lies, without my needing to fill them in the situation. She's doing enough damage in her own. At this point, I think the best thing I can do is let them dig their own grave and stay silent. Comment 2. You should post the voicemail on your socials so your sister can be put on blast publicly, since she is doing the same to you. Honestly, have your bro-in-law send her a nice legal letter to cease and desist from defaming you with false statements. OP's reply. Everyone they've talked to about me so far, that I'm aware of, have called them out and known they're lying. Anyone who believes them without at least talking to me, I'm not too bothered about, as clearly I shouldn't have them in my life. So I'd rather just stay quiet, let her help work out who should be in my life and who shouldn't.